What's up guys, Sal here. So it's happening. After the United States, Australia and New Zealand, Japan has also come forward in banning Huawei and ZTE products. Considering the recent arrest of Huawei's chief financial officer, it really comes as no surprise to hear that Japan is also considering protective measures of its own. For those of you not keeping up with all of this stuff, let me explain you in brief why countries are banning Huawei. Look, Huawei doesn't just make phones. They're also a massive manufacturer of networking equipment that ISPs and mobile phone networks buy and use. Basically, they make internet infrastructure. Huawei has ties to the Chinese government. This isn't a speculation, it is a fact. Based on this, the US and several other countries such as Australia, New Zealand and now Japan are either banning or advising against using Huawei infrastructure, fearing that China could have backdoor access to their infrastructure, which would obviously be a massive threat to national security. It's important to note that as of now, there is no evidence that there is a backdoor. However, steps are still being taken to curtail deployment of Huawei infrastructure for a few reasons. First, it won't be unusual for China to try to get backdoors into other countries' infrastructure because they've done it before. Second, even if it was unlikely to be the case, it is still a risk to national security that cannot be ignored. Third, Huawei hasn't released source code proving they are free of Chinese government tampering. Some however say that this is all baseless and it's just an attempt to stunt the growth of Chinese infrastructure companies. They say this is all just part of a trade war with China. And it's totally plausible. There's also the point that banning Huawei on the basis that they might be doing wrong is basically guilty until proven innocent. I hope I've explained that in a way that isn't overly one-sided. It's really tough because there's plenty of fair points on both sides here. Personally, I'm not sold on whether there are backdoors, but I'm thinking maybe we should opt with a more transparent and trustable infrastructure provider regardless. After all, the best case scenario is that there is no backdoor, and the worst case scenario is that there is a backdoor and the national security of several countries is at risk. So I guess it's better to be safe than sorry. Some of you might ask, why just Huawei and not other Chinese companies like OnePlus, Xiaomi, Lenovo, Oppo and more? There are two reasons for this. First is that Huawei's main business is producing the network infrastructure and selling that to the carrier, not just the consumer level business of selling smartphones. Second is that for OnePlus, Xiaomi, Oppo and more, these companies use chips from the US or US friendly companies, mostly Qualcomm, while Huawei increasingly uses China designed internal chips. Obviously, I don't know if Huawei is guilty or not, but Huawei is significantly higher up the technology supply chain than the other Chinese companies. In any case, Huawei's future doesn't look good to me. Let me know what you think of this down in the comments and I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.